In a galaxy filled with laser swords, planet-destroying space stations, and warrior monks who can move objects with their minds. Force lightning might actually be the most scientifically fascinating ability in all of Star Wars. And I'm not just talking about how cool it looks when Emperor Palpatine goes full Sith Lord mode. I'm talking about what this power reveals about the Force itself, and why, according to every law of physics we understand, it absolutely should not work the way it does. I've spent months analyzing the Star Wars universe, and today we're going to unpack one of the franchise's most iconic powers. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Force lightning isn't just evil-looking electricity, but something far stranger and more terrifying. So, what exactly is shooting out of a Sith Lord's fingertips? Let's find out. First, we need to establish what Force lightning actually is, because the films and expanded universe give us some contradictory information. When Palpatine first unleashes it on Luke in Return of the Jedi, it looks like electrical arcs, sounds like crackling energy, and clearly causes immense pain. Luke writhes in agony, his body convulsing, just like someone being electrocuted. But here's where it gets interesting. Real lightning, the kind that splits the sky during a thunderstorm, occurs because of a massive buildup of electrical potential between clouds and the ground. You need specific atmospheric conditions, you need charge separation, and you need a conductive path. The human body? It's not exactly a Van de Graaff generator. We're mostly water and salt, decent conductors of electricity, but terrible at producing it in any meaningful quantity. Yet Sith Lords can generate these bolts seemingly at will, in any environment, from the vacuum of space stations to humid swamps. Count Dooku does it in Attack of the Clones with barely any effort. Palpatine sustains it for extended periods. In the Rise of Skywalker, the Emperor releases enough power to disable an entire fleet of starships simultaneously. We're talking about energy outputs that would require gigawatts of power, all originating from organic tissue. This tells us something crucial. Force lightning isn't actually electricity in the conventional sense. It's something that mimics electrical energy, but operates on completely different principles. Let's talk about what would happen if you tried to generate real lightning from your body. Your nervous system already uses electrical signals, tiny ionic currents that travel along neurons to make your muscles contract and your brain think. These operate at around 70 millivolts, maybe spiking to 100 during an action potential. A lightning bolt? That's running at about 1 billion volts. The energy required to create even a small bolt of lightning would cook your body from the inside out. The thermal energy alone would vaporize tissue, boil blood, and cause catastrophic organ failure in milliseconds. There's a reason why people struck by lightning often die, and it's not just the electricity itself, but the massive thermal and mechanical trauma. Yet we see Palpatine, an elderly human, channeling this power repeatedly, without apparent injury to himself. In fact, the only time we see a Sith harmed by their own lightning is when Mace Windu reflects it back at Palpatine's face, and even that seems more like a narrative choice than a physical necessity. This suggests that whatever is flowing through a Sith's body during Force lightning generation, it's not following normal thermodynamic rules. Here's where Star Wars lore gets really fascinating. According to both the films and expanded universe materials, Force lightning is predominantly a dark side ability. We rarely, if ever, see Jedi using it. Why? The common explanation is that it's fueled by hatred, anger, and aggression, emotions the Jedi suppress. But I think there's something deeper going on. The Force, as Obi-Wan explains, is an energy field created by all living things. It binds the galaxy together. The dark side represents a corruption, a perversion of that natural flow. When a Sith uses Force lightning, they're not generating electricity from their cells. They're channeling the Force itself through their body and converting it into a destructive energy form that resembles lightning. Think about what we know from other Force abilities. Jedi can push objects, pull them, even crush metal with their minds. They're not generating kinetic energy from nothing. They're manipulating the Force to create physical effects on matter. Force lightning follows the same principle, but instead of kinetic manipulation, it's energy conversion. The Sith user becomes a conduit, transforming Force energy into something that damages living tissue in a way that looks and acts like electrical current. This explains why it's so effective against living beings. In the Clone Wars animated series, we see Force lightning used as torture, causing excruciating pain without necessarily killing immediately. It's not just shocking the nervous system. It's attacking the victim's connection to the Force itself, disrupting the midi-chlorians in their cells. This is why it's particularly devastating to other Force users who have higher midi-chlorian counts and thus more vulnerability to this attack. One of the most impressive aspects of Force lightning is the control Sith Lords demonstrate over it. Palpatine can dial it up or down, using it to torture Luke slowly rather than killing him instantly. Count Dooku uses precise bursts. This level of control would be impossible with real electrical discharge, which follows the path of least resistance and dissipates rapidly. The fact that Sith can sustain these bolts, direct them accurately, and modulate their intensity tells us this is a consciously controlled Force ability, not a physical phenomenon. It requires focus, intent, and a deep connection to the dark side. In expanded universe materials, apprentices learning this ability often struggle with control, accidentally harming themselves or releasing too much power at once. This also explains why the power drains the user. After extensive use, even Palpatine shows signs of exhaustion. He's not depleting electrical charge, he's depleting his own life force, channeling dangerous amounts of dark side energy through his physical form. It's essentially weaponized Force drain, turning the user's hatred and anger into pure destructive output. From a storytelling perspective, Force lightning is brilliant because it visually represents everything the dark side stands for. It's immediate, aggressive, and it causes suffering. Unlike a lightsaber, which requires physical engagement, Force lightning is pure projection of power and dominance. When Palpatine uses it, he's not just attacking, he's demonstrating superiority, making his victims feel helpless. It's also deeply personal and cruel. A blaster or lightsaber ends things quickly. Force lightning can be drawn out, used to torture, to punish, to break someone's spirit before their body. This aligns perfectly with Sith philosophy, which values domination and the infliction of suffering as tools of control. So what have we learned? Force lightning isn't electricity in any conventional sense. It's a dark side manifestation, converting Force energy into destructive output through a living conduit. It shouldn't work according to biology or physics as we understand them, but it operates on the metaphysical rules of the Star Wars universe, where willpower and emotion can literally reshape reality. The next time you watch a Sith Lord unleash those crackling blue bolts, remember, you're not watching electricity, you're watching hatred made visible, suffering weaponized, and the dark side of the Force, expressing its most primal, destructive impulse. That's what makes it so terrifying and so perfectly Sith. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, let me know what other Star Wars abilities you'd like me to break down next. May the Force be with you, and hope